Hi, I'm Jane Morris, burnout author, speaker, and coach. In this video, I'm going to talk about overcoming anhedonia, the merness that we can sometimes start the new year with, or indeed experience at any stage of our lives. In her book, Feeling Blur, Tanith Kerry describes anhedonia as the missing piece in mental health. She connects the dots between convenience culture, our changing hormones, our modern day diets, and stressful lifestyles, and talks about how these things can dial down our ability to experience joy and pleasure. So we're going to explore together in this video what actually is anhedonia and how can you overcome it. Anhedonia is the opposite of hedonism. It's a nebulous-like state that sits somewhere between depression and flourishing, in a sort of void. If you were to imagine a continuum with enduring and surviving on one end, and enjoying and flourishing and thriving on the other, it would be closer towards the enduring and surviving end of that spectrum. It's not depression, although it can be an indicator of the onset of depression and indeed also an early warning sign of burnout. Not that those who burn out necessarily also feel depressed or experience depression, and not that it necessarily does end up in depression. However, it's helpful and useful and important to know that there is a connection sometimes for some between the two. When we're in it, we feel quite numb and zombie-like. Things that used to bring us pleasure and joy, we just feel like we're moving through in some kind of blur. It's not a pleasurable place to be, that's for sure. And yet we've normalized societally this kind of invisible suffering. It's felt by some that it's the price we pay for the stressful lives in society that we live in today. It's important to remember that just because you don't feel bad doesn't mean you necessarily feel good either. And so walking into the new year, or rather stumbling into it as if you're sleepwalking perhaps, is probably not how you want to begin 2024. So what can you do about it? Let's explore that next. So firstly, it can be very helpful to get some support. If you work with a trained psychotherapist, counsellor, or coach, then a professional in that capacity can help you to spot thinking patterns that you're unaware of, the type of deletion, distortion, and generalization that we habitually fall into due to our societal conditioning, our family patterns. So quite often we'll be thinking one thing, it will affect how we feel, and it will affect what we do until somebody holds a mirror for it to us. And we can then be at choice about those thought patterns. We can reframe our thinking. Also, working with a trained professional can help you to distinguish the difference between what are your worries. So often these can be the things that you fear that will happen if you don't do something. What are your anxieties, the things that you will spend a lot of time thinking and imagining as if they're real? And what are the things that are actually bringing about stress in your system, which can be from external factors coming towards you that are a response to our environment, to our health, to certain things that we're thinking, our worries and our anxieties, perhaps also in that mix. So number one is to seek some support and some advice. It's very difficult for us to change the way we think, feel, and act on our own. Number two is to feed your brain with feel-good things, building them into your everyday. So make a list of all of the things that you know that stimulate your senses. What are the things that you feel good when you see, when you hear, when you smell, and when you touch? How do those affect you? What are the tastes that ignite you and help you feel alive? It could be things that you take for granted in your day-to-day, but it might be things that you haven't actually had in your life for a while. or you don't have going on in your life quite enough, but would be quite easy to bring in. So, for example, fresh flowers on your desk, or having fresh sheets on a certain day of the week. Making associations with certain days and certain things can be nice too, because then we can look forward to that thing on that day, and it can revive our sense of joy and pleasure. Number 3 is to ditch the New Year resolutions and instead create a no resolution list. What are the things that are a no-do? And when are you going to not do them? So many of us are guilty of not carving out enough time for ourselves to truly relax, restore, recharge, and replenish ourselves, to engage in things that fully inspire us and uplift us. So a no-do list could be about blocking off a morning here, there, as often as you feel to schedule it in for yourself, an afternoon, a night out, time that is just for you, to not do the chores, the endless to-dos, to work towards the goals, to do the things that you maybe have a voice from someone else telling you that you should, ought to, or must be doing, and simply do nothing other than be with yourself, enjoying time for you. And that might involve some sense of doing. It might also just involve lying there on a picnic blanket, staring at the sky or the trees, or something else that revives you, restores you, and helps you feel good. And then finally, but perhaps unexpectedly, is to sing. You may think you can't sing, or you may love to sing and think you can sing, and others have a different opinion of your singing capabilities. Or perhaps you're a phenomenal singer. If you're a phenomenal singer, the chances are you sing a lot, then you probably already know this. But for those of us who are maybe a little more shy about using our vocal cords, try singing. Give it a go. You can try it when nobody's there. There's a saying to dance like nobody's watching. Well, sing like nobody's listening. And sing often. It really helps to enliven you. It's something that we're naturally born to do, and it helps us feel good when we do it. Wishing you a joyful new year and hoping this video inspires you towards more aliveness.